When Sydney Colson speaks, people listen. Known for her confidence, humor, and leadership, Colson has always been a bold voice in the WNBA. But this time, it wasn't jokes or game highlights that got fans talking. It was her explosive defense of Caitlin Clark and the entire Indiana Fever team, and the stunning truth she revealed about jealousy, hate, and hypocrisy behind the league's curtain. For months, Caitlin Clark's every move has been dissected, criticized, and mocked, often by her own peers. From rough fouls on the court to shade on social media, the WNBA's newest star has faced a wave of hostility that's hard to ignore. But while most players stayed silent, Sydney Colson finally said what many have been afraid to say, and it's shaking the league. What she exposed about locker room jealousy, toxic competitiveness, and the truth about supporting women in sports might just change how fans see the WNBA forever. The breaking point. It all started after another heated Fever versus Aces matchup, a game where Caitlin Clark was once again the center of controversy. Hard fouls, side eyes, and social media comments followed. Fans were outraged, demanding accountability, while players claimed the rookie had it coming. That's when Sydney Colson, known for her fun personality and witty online presence, dropped a bombshell of her own. Instead of piling on, she took a stand, calling out the jealousy and double standards that had been bubbling beneath the surface for months. She said bluntly in a podcast appearance, "Some of y'all don't like Caitlin because she's shining too bright. That's not competition, that's envy." That one line exploded online. Fans praised her courage, while others accused her of protecting a rookie. But Sydney didn't back down. The silent tension inside the league. Behind the scenes, the WNBA has always had layers of tension. Veterans feeling overlooked, rookies stepping into the spotlight too fast, and teams fighting for relevance in a growing league. But Caitlin Clark's arrival magnified everything. Her massive fan base, endorsement deals, and sold-out arenas made her an instant face of the league. For some, that was inspiring. For others, it was infuriating. Sydney Colson later admitted that she could feel the divide in conversations with other players. "It's like some folks forgot we're all supposed to be on the same mission, to grow this game," she said. When a rookie brings millions of new eyes to the sport, the logical response should be celebration. But what Colson saw instead was jealousy disguised as tough love. It wasn't that Caitlin didn't deserve criticism. It's that the criticism came laced with resentment. The interview that shook the internet. Sydney's viral interview didn't happen by accident. It was raw, emotional, and completely unscripted. During the discussion, the host asked her point-blank if she thought players were being too hard on Caitlin Clark. Sydney didn't hesitate. "Some people just don't want to see her win, and that's the truth." She went on to explain that jealousy is poison, and that it's damaging not only to individuals but to the entire league's growth. The clip spread like wildfire on TikTok and Twitter. Fans started tagging players who had been openly critical of Clark, reigniting old controversies. Sydney's honesty hit differently. It wasn't PR polished or diplomatic. It was human. It was the voice of someone who loved the game enough to tell the truth, even when it wasn't convenient. The WNBA's jealousy problem. Jealousy in sports isn't new, but Sydney's comments peeled back the curtain on something deeper. She described how certain players feel threatened by Caitlin Clark's influence, her record-breaking jersey sales, her media presence, and her connection to fans. "She's not stealing the spotlight," Sydney said. "She's expanding it." Yet, instead of embracing that expansion, some teammates treated it like competition for attention. That mindset, Colson warned, could destroy the unity the league desperately needs. Her words hit especially hard because they came from within the system. She wasn't a commentator or outsider. She was someone living it. Sydney's honesty struck a chord with fans who felt the same thing, that the negativity toward Clark had gone too far. Defending Indiana Fever. As the conversation grew, Sydney didn't just defend Caitlin Clark. She defended the entire Indiana Fever roster. She pointed out that the team had become an easy target because of Clark's fame, with other teams playing extra aggressively and the media amplifying every mistake. Sydney said, "You can't grow the league by tearing down the team that's bringing in the most fans." Her words resonated with Fever supporters, who felt the team was being unfairly villainized. Sydney made it clear that Indiana was facing a double standard, celebrated when they win, ridiculed when they lose. She reminded everyone that growth takes time. The Fever were rebuilding, learning, and carrying the weight of national attention unlike anything women's basketball had ever seen. Her defense was heartfelt, not as an outsider but as someone who wanted to see the league succeed together. It was a reminder that supporting women in sports means supporting all women, not just the ones you like. The backlash. Of course, not everyone appreciated Sydney's honesty. Some WNBA veterans took her comments as an attack, accusing her of oversimplifying the issue. Others said she was trying to win social media points. But Sydney wasn't fazed. She responded with grace and a little fire. "If telling the truth makes you uncomfortable," she wrote on X, "then maybe it's time to ask why." Her words struck a nerve. Fans flooded her mentions with support, thanking her for standing up for Caitlin and the Fever. What made Sydney's stance so powerful was that it wasn't performative. It came from love for the game. She wasn't blaming players individually. She was calling out the culture. And sometimes, the truth hurts. But as the online debate raged, one thing was clear. Sydney Colson had started a conversation the WNBA couldn't ignore anymore. The fans respond. If Sydney's goal was to unite fans, it worked. Her words sparked a movement across social media, with fans posting under hashtags like #SupportTheFever and #LetWomenShine. People began praising not only Caitlin Clark, but Sydney herself for defending integrity and fairness. For weeks, her name trended alongside Clark's, a sign that fans were hungry for authenticity. Sydney's openness gave the audience something real to root for. Not drama, but accountability. Sports networks picked up the story, and even NBA players chimed in, applauding her courage. It wasn't about dividing the league, it was about elevating the conversation. Because when one player shines, everyone benefits. And Sydney reminded fans, and critics alike, that tearing someone down never makes the game better. What Caitlin Clark said next. Caitlin Clark eventually broke her silence on the situation, and her response was pure class. When asked about Sydney Colson's defense, Clark said, "I really respect that. Sydney's always been real, and that means a lot." She added that she doesn't want to be treated differently, only fairly. "We all work hard," she said. "We all deserve respect." Her calm, measured response showed maturity beyond her years, and reflected the same message Sydney had been pushing. Unity, not rivalry. Fans loved it. The two women became unexpected allies in a league desperate for positive headlines. Their mutual respect highlighted something powerful, that authenticity and honesty are what fans crave most. The league reacts. Eventually, even the WNBA front office had to acknowledge the storm. Executives privately praised Sydney's leadership while publicly calling for respect and professionalism among players. It was a diplomatic statement, but insiders say Sydney's comments triggered internal discussions about culture, branding, and how the league presents itself to fans. Sponsors noticed, too. Brands began reaching out to Sydney for speaking events and media appearances. Her authenticity was good for the league, even if it made some people uncomfortable. She had managed to do something rare, spark a difficult conversation without losing credibility. And while the WNBA's internal culture still has work to do, one thing became clear: transparency sells. The legacy of speaking up. In the end, Sydney Colson's stand wasn't about viral fame. It was about courage. She proved that defending fairness doesn't make you weak, and calling out jealousy doesn't make you divisive. Her honesty may have ruffled feathers, but it also inspired a generation of athletes to speak truth without fear. And for Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever, and the fans watching from home, it meant something bigger. It meant that someone inside the league finally said what everyone else was thinking. Sydney Colson reminded the world that real leadership isn't about staying quiet. It's about standing tall even when your voice shakes.